Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Francesca, and in today's video we are going to be talking about all the books that I want to read in the season of fall. I have an insane amount of books that I want to hopefully get through this fall. Now I'm going to keep it real with you guys. There's a very high chance that I probably won't get through every single one because I believe I have about 20-ish books or more that I'm going to be showing you guys. I am just going to really try to get through as many as I possibly can. Some I can probably push till winter, but for the most part, I really want to try to read these through the months of September all the way through the month of November. So I do have some fantasy, we have some mystery thrillers, we have romances, I have like one historical fiction. I feel like I have a good amount of genres that I personally like. As much as I love fall, I am really sad that summer is coming to an end. I live in Florida, so I don't even get a real fall. We just get rain and clouds, which is absolutely horrible. So hopefully I'm manifesting that later on in life, I can move somewhere where I can actually experience real seasons, because that is my dream. I love fall, I love winter, I just love the seasons and I want to experience every single one. Babes, I just need some seasons. I need some change in my life, and it's like 90 degrees outside, but it's super cloudy and we're pretending it's fall. I have like my fall nails. I tried to do some like fall makeup and I'm wearing a sweater, which I already feel like I'm gonna sweat in. I'm just gonna get through this video and try to make it as fall as I possibly can. I have one pumpkin back here that my sister got for me, she's really cute and I really like that you can see her. But yeah, let's get into the video. I don't know if I said this or not. These are not fall recommendations. This is my fall TBR. Okay, I've never read these. I can't personally recommend them to you, but hopefully I can put them on your radar and you can get some inspiration for books that you want to read in the fall anyway. Okay, so the first book that I have is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is a small town romance, which I feel like feels very fallish. This book is about a pop star who gets stuck in this like small town. Her car like breaks down in front of a pie shop. I believe he owns a pie shop. Yeah, he owns a pie shop, and the pop star Amelia Rose, her car breaks down in front of this pie shop. And the owner, he's like this grumpy man, and he's just a grumpy small town man. He doesn't care for celebrities or pop stars or anything like that. So he's not really fond of her and not really excited that her car broke down in front of her shop. But nonetheless, he gives her like one night to stay in his guest room until her car fixes, and the story kind of goes on from there. I don't really know what happens. It seems like really fun, small town, grumpy sunshine. Like I think it'll be a cute romance to read in the fall time. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually a reread. I want to reread it because the second book in this series comes out October 1st. And it's been a while since I've read it, so I want to have it like fresh in my mind because I loved this book so much. The second book is a highly anticipated read for me, so I'm just hoping it's just as good as the first one, and that is Better Than Movies by Lynn Painter. This book is about two childhood friends, Liz and Wes, and basically Liz has never really liked Wes growing up. He was like the complete opposite of her. She is a rom-com girly. She loves a good romance comedy movie, which hence Better Than the Movies. They like reference a lot of movies and songs and stuff like that. Liz starts to form a crush on this guy named Michael, who she is hoping to have ask her be his prom date. Wes actually starts to become friends with Michael, and so Liz feels like her only way to get Michael is through Wes. So Liz and Wes kind of start planning on how they're going to get Michael to be her prom date. Liz starts to realize that she might actually like Wes more than just a friend, and it just kind of goes from there. It's super fun, it's super cute. The banter is insane. It's so good. I love the banter in this. I love a book with good banter. That is my absolute favorite thing, and this book has it all. And the second book, Nothing Like the Movies, comes out October 1st, so I want to reread this before it comes out. The next book that I'm going to talk about is The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. This book screams fall. This actually is the second book in a fall series. The first book is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I believe. I don't have that. I've been trying to look for that, but I can't find it anywhere. I don't know if they're connected or not. I don't think it matters which order I read them, so I'm gonna read it anyway, and hopefully I can find The Pumpkin Spice Cafe soon, because I do want to read that one too. They just seemed like the perfect cute little fall reads. I believe this one follows a girl named Hazel. She's a bookseller, and in one of her books she finds like these secret codes, these secret messages and stuff, and she doesn't know where they're coming from or what they lead to. So she asks for help from this fisherman. His name is Noah, and Noah has had a crush on her for like the last few months. And so he obviously he's like, this sounds like a really fun thing to do, like a little scavenger hunt, and this girl's cute, like whatever, like I'm gonna help her. And so they kind of just do that together. I think it'll be like a really fun, cutie little fall read. So that's all I really want from it. The next two that I have are The Assassin's Blade and Through Glass by Sarah J. Maas. If you've been watching my videos or if you follow me on TikTok, I have been trying to get into the series for the longest time. I don't know what it is about this series. I know everyone has like their own opinion on when you should read this book, but I think I want to read it first just because it is a bunch of novellas. Sarah J Maas has it written as the first book, and a lot of like these book influencers and book talkers that I follow have mostly read these first and recommend to read it first. So I'm gonna trust them with that and try to read this first, but I literally cannot get past like chapter 3 or 4 every single time I picked it up. I think I soft DNF'd it again for like the 4th time. Maybe I'm just like not in the mood to read it. I really think that's what it is, what it's come down to. But I really want to get into it, and I feel like it'll be a really good book to read in the fall time. I love fantasy in the fall time, and this is a highly, highly loved fantasy that I want to be a part of because I love when people love things. It's so fun, and I want to be a part of that group. So we'll see. So please pray for me. Next book that I'm going to talk about is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I never know if I'm pronouncing these names right. If you've watched me, you know I'm horrible at it. I'm sorry. But I have read Six of Crows by the same author, and I really absolutely loved that. And this is dark academia fantasy, adult fantasy, and I've never read any dark academia. I do have The Secret History in my September TBR pile, so I do want to read that. I'll probably read that before I read this. So that'll be like my first dark academia technically, but this is also dark academia. I'm really just excited. I'm a little bit scared because I heard there's like specific trigger warnings. It's dark. So I've never read like anything like that. Like I tried to read dark romance, and I started with Haunting Adeline. Maybe I should not have started with that like at all. I DNF'd that. I think I only read like the first few chapters, and I was like, that man is actually insane. I cannot read this. So didn't read that again. Maybe hopefully in the future I want to try to get into dark academia or dark romance, but now is just not the time for me. This is about a girl named Alex, and I believe she gets like a full ride into Yale University, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know what is going on. What's the catch? Why did they choose her to get a full ride to Yale? I don't know. But I know like really creepy things go down. Like, I don't know. Don't know too much about it. I mean, people say it's really good. People say that they love it so much. So I'm trusting them, and hopefully I do like it, and hopefully I'm not like really grossed out. I would definitely look up the trigger warnings before picking this book up. I don't know how I'll feel about it, but hopefully I can push through it and read this and like the book nonetheless. The next book that I have is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is a romantic psychological thriller. I don't know too much about the book. One thing about me is I really like to go in blind with books. So I sometimes don't even read like the back synopsis. Sometimes I do, but I really just love going in blind and just going off of like what people I like recommend, and it just makes it more exciting for me. So I don't know if that's like the wrong thing to do, but that's what I do, and I feel like for the most part, it's worked for me, so I continue doing it. This is a book that inspired the song Tolerated by Miss Taylor Swift, and that song to me is absolutely everything. I love Taylor Swift. I love Tolerated. Folklore and Evermore are like this to me, and Tolerated is on top, but it is one of those songs that just really, really gets to me on a very deep and emotional level, and I can't listen to it sometimes because it triggers my daddy issues. So that's not the point. From what I've gathered, I believe this is about the female main character. I don't know what her name is. He's married to this man who lost his wife. Sorry, my dogs are barking. And basically they move into his estate, and I believe the female main character ends up being like haunted by his late wife, Rebecca. Okay. I believe the story really just goes on from there. I don't know anything else. That's all I know, but that's how I want it to be. So I'm excited to read this. I haven't read a psychological thriller in a really, really, really long time. I haven't been in the mood to read thrillers, but I believe the fall is really going to change that for me, and I cannot wait to read this one. This one is very highly anticipated for me. Next on my radar, I have Heartless by Elsie Silver. Now, this is not very fall-like, but I recently read Flawless by Elsie Silver, which is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series, and it's cowboy romance. It's small town romance, so I feel like this will just... Small town to me just feels like Gilmore Girls, and hence it feels like fall. Even though it's probably not very fall-like, but I'm still gonna read her in the fall, and I know that I'm gonna love her. I'm so excited for this one. The next book that I have is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. This is a second chance romance, which I love. I have always liked second chance romances. I think they're super cute, they're super fun, and they're super deep, and like the feelings, the emotions just always get to me, so I feel like this is gonna be really fun to read. I believe this follows two exes who come together to help plan a mutual friend's wedding. I believe she's like the maid of honor and he's like the best man. I don't know. But basically they have to work together for their best friend. Everything that I've heard about this book is super great. Just hope that it lives up to my expectations because I do have really high expectations for this one. The next book that I have is City of... Ooh, there's a really bad glare. I have to like hold it at a weird angle like this. What I have is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. It's part of the Mortal Instruments series. I've never read these, but obviously I feel like this is a super popular kind of old series in the young adult fantasy world, and it's something that I really wanted to get into for a really long time. My brother actually gave me this book for Christmas, I believe last year, and I never picked it up because, again, I wanted to wait till read it in the fall time. I love reading fantasy in the fall, and yeah, I feel like this will be a really great year to start it. I want to get into it. It's about shadow hunters. I believe Clary, the female main character, she witnesses a murder committed by 3 teenagers who happen to be shadow hunters, and I believe she starts to form an interest for one of the shadow hunters, and he starts to like have interest in her as well, and then she kind of gets caught up in their world, and that's all I really know. And I've heard really great things about this. This has been around for a really long time. I think there's also a like TV show for it. I've never seen the TV show, so I don't know if it's good or not, but I want to get to this eventually, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to read in the fall. The next book that I have is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I have never read anything by Ali Hazelwood, so this would technically be my first read by her. I don't know if it's the right book to start with all of her books. I believe this is her very first fantasy. She's never written fantasy until this one. She mainly just writes contemporary romance, I believe. But I don't know. I mean, this is a vampire werewolf romance. I've heard mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. But I don't know. I think it'll be a fun fantasy romance read. And it's short, it's quick. I want to read it. Next, I have Reckless by Lauren Roberts. Now, if you watched, I believe I talked about Powerless in my August reading wrap-up, and then my last video, which was like a book recommendation for beginners, I talked about Powerless. I went into full description of what Powerless was about in my recommendation video, and I absolutely loved that book so much. So obviously it like left on the biggest cliffhanger ever. Maybe not ever, that's a little dramatic, but it's very highly anticipated. I am a little bit nervous because I heard it's not as good as Powerless, but nonetheless, I can't wait to read more about Kai and Peyton, and I just want to see where their story goes on from there. I have started it on audio. I left off on like chapter 15 or something, and it's so far I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really fun, but I don't know. So far I don't see the hate, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I picked it up at the right time. So yeah, I'm really excited for her, and I love me some Kai Azar. The next book that I have is the Book of Azreal by Amber V. Nicole. This is part of the Gods and Monsters series. This is a romance fantasy. I believe this is enemies to lovers, and I think it is true enemies to lovers. I really hope it is, because a lot of the time people recommend books to me and they'll be like, this is enemies to lovers, and it's really not. Like, I want them to truly hate each other and then fall in love with each other. I want them to hate that they're falling in love with each other. This is about ethereals, which I've never read about, I've never heard about, so I don't even know what those are, but I'm excited to find out what they are. The next book that I have is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maurer. This is a romance fantasy. This is about a girl named Evie, or Evie. I don't know. Basically, she's looking for a job. She finds this job position to be the assistant to the town's most infamous villain, and she takes it. And while she's taking it, she starts to develop a crush on him, as one would. Like, I love me a villain, so I don't blame her. Yeah, that was like a horrible description. Again, I go into books blind, so a lot of the times it's really hard for me to describe them before I actually read them. I'm excited for this one. Next book that I have is Zodiac Academy, The Awakening by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. My dogs literally have been marking this entire video. Literally the entire video. This is a romance fantasy, I believe. I don't know if the romance is a subplot or not, but this is fantasy. This is about a Gemini twin who is the heir to a throne in her kingdom, and she is fae. And basically, what she didn't know, in order for her to claim her throne, she has to prove that she's the most powerful supernatural being. She didn't anticipate there being competition, and her competition happens to be this really hot dragon shifter. I heard it's true enemies to lovers, like super slow burn, which I love slow burn so much, so I think I'm gonna eat this up. Next book that I have is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit confused on what this book is actually about. Like, I tried to read the back, it doesn't give me that much information, which is fine, but I'm gonna read the back for you for this book. So it says, a formidable outlaw family that claims to be the first among nations, a son destined to lead, thrust suddenly into power. 3 fierce young women of the Rattan, the Queen's premier guard. A legendary street thief leading a mission determined to prove herself, a dark secret that is a threat to the entire continent. When outlaw leader meets reformed thief, a cat and mouse game of false moves ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. Next book that I have is An Ember in the Ashes, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the author's name. I'm going to butcher it so badly, and I do not want to disrespect them whatsoever. So here's a good look at the cover. The female main character, Leia, is a slave, and basically, I believe her brother gets arrested or something, and in order to rescue her brother, she makes this deal to become a spy within the military's greatest, like, academy or something like that. And while she is spying in this academy, she meets Elias, who is the main male character, and he is one of, like, the military's, like, finest soldiers, and it goes on from there. My only problem with this book is that the male main character's name is Elias, which happens to be my brother's name. I've never had that happen to me before, ever. In all of the books that I've ever read, nobody has been named after someone in my personal life, and let alone my brother, so that's, like, really giving me the biggest ick. But it's young adult, and I don't know how heavy the romance is. I'm going to definitely, like, try to read it, and if it gets, like, too much for me, then I probably might have to sadly DNF this, but, like, I've heard it's such a great book, so I really want to push through it and maybe just try to, like, change the main male character's name in my head as I read it, because why does he have to have the same name as my brother? I hate that. I hate it so much. The next book that I have is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a science fiction dystopian type of book. I have never read science fiction a day in my life, but this book has been highly, highly, highly recommended to me by personal people in my lives. I've heard it's really great, so, ooh, there's the Barnes & Noble receipt. I heard it's really great. I'm a little bit scared because, again, I've never read this genre, but it's not intimidating because it's only like 300-ish pages, which is not bad. I've been really trying to expand my genres in reading, so hopefully this will make me love science fiction, and hopefully in the future I'll probably read more science fiction. The next book that I have is The Chain by Adrienne McKinty. This is a thriller, mystery thriller book. This woman, she gets a call saying that her child has been kidnapped, and in order to save her child, she has to kidnap another child, and therefore the chain is created. It sounds really crazy, really fun, hopefully, to read. I don't know if there's any trigger warnings in this. With a lot of thrillers, I kind of assume there's going to be trigger warnings, so maybe I should look that up. If you want to read this, maybe look it up and see if there is. But it sounds like a great book to read in the month of October. The next book that I have is The Overnight Guest by Heather. I'm not going to pronounce her last name. I don't want to butcher it, sorry, but here she is. This is a mystery thriller as well. This follows a true crime writer named Wiley, and basically she gets stuck at this house in the middle of a snowstorm. I believe there was like 2 people murdered and a child that went missing like years ago. So this is like a creepy, like, haunted house that she definitely should not be staying at in a snowstorm, but it's a mystery thriller, so what do you expect? But anyway, she gets this overnight guest. She finds this child, I believe she finds this child outside, and she brings the child in to warm them up and take care of them, and I don't really know how it goes from there. It sounds really creepy, but it sounds really intriguing, and it sounds like a good book for the fall time, but this is also something that I feel that I could definitely push off and read in the winter time. It is in the middle of a snowstorm, so I'm not going to put this at the top of my list. So if I don't get to it in the fall time, I definitely will try to read it in the winter time, because in the winter time I also really like to read a lot of thrillers. The next book that I have is The Appeal by Janice Hallett, and this is a whodunit murder mystery, which murder mysteries are kind of hit or miss for me, like whodunits. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. I feel like I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about it. I picked this up maybe a year ago, and I've just never read it. It says it's 1 murder, 15 suspects, can you uncover the truth? I do know about this book, flipping through it. There's a lot of like text messages and files and stuff, so it probably feels like you're actually trying to uncover it yourself. At least I hope so. So that's what really made me want to pick this up, and I think it'll be fun to read, definitely in October. But yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll be a good book. You never know. Okay, the next book that I have is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. For obvious reasons, feels like a good book to read in October. It is about this woman who obsesses over Jack the Ripper. And Jack the Ripper, if you don't know, he's this infamous serial killer from like London, I think? I don't know. He's this infamous serial killer, and this takes place during that time. And this woman, she's like obsessed with him, and she starts to stalk him, and I don't really know where it goes from there, but that sounds intriguing. That sounds kind of creepy. That sounds kind of weird, but I don't know. It seems like a good book to read in the month of October, so hopefully I like her. The next and final book that I have is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is a historical fiction book. I believe it follows 4 main characters, and the book, I believe, is told through Aphrodite's point of view. And basically, I've really heard it's like a very strong emotional book. This is young adult too, but everybody that I've seen read this has said it's a 5-star book for them, and that they would have never imagined it to be what it was. And it really is really intriguing to me. I don't know why I want to read this in the fall time. Maybe it's because I bought it recently. This is historical fiction, young adult, and I mean, yeah, am I really surprised? Because now that I'm thinking about it, The Book Thief is young adult historical fiction, and that book changed everything for me. So really, I have high expectations for this book. I think I'm really gonna like it. I heard that it puts you through an emotional roller coaster, which I love. I love when a book can make me cry and make me feel really strong feelings, and that's all I want from this book. All right, guys, those are all of the books that I want to read in the fall season. Hopefully I can get to all of them, but let's be real here. Hopefully we can get to most of them. There's a lot of books that I want to read on my Kindle too. I really want to do like a Kindle TBR video or like a Kindle recommendation video, because there's a lot of books on Kindle Unlimited on there that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. And so when I do like my TBR videos and stuff, I never include the Kindle ones, but there's so many books on Kindle Unlimited that I want to read. So I feel like maybe it'll be really fun. I want to do more like book trope recommendation videos. I think that might be really fun. The fall time is like a reader's time to shine, and so I'm just really excited to film all these bookish videos and really get my reading. I read a lot over the summer, but the fall time I feel like is going to be my time to shine. Like, I'm excited for all of these books, and there's so many new releases. Like, I'm just super excited. That's it for my video. If you guys want to watch my September TBR, where obviously there's more fall books in there, I just didn't want to include them because I do have a whole video picking them out and talking about them. So there are more fall TBR videos in my September TBR video, which I posted recently. That's pretty much it, guys. I really hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you guys want to follow me on all my other social media, I'll have everything linked down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!